one thing was for sure. They both believed Sparks to be a total tool.
Be an exciting contest which shows that divorced couples can still have fun together, right?
Mythological hero H-list. C. On the spot dice spin.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Anyway, you've won a Brucie Bonus.
Well, it's April 15th, or, well, it's a Saturday, so I guess that means April 17th is tax day. Mainly because our good old government can't be asked to work on a weekend so we can actually get something done to benefit the country. Alright, we'll just go with it, I guess. But speaking of taxes, one of the things that's been taxing my brain lately is how underrated of a host Bob Goen was. You see, he had been given lots and lots of stinkers, and we covered a lot of them here on Game Show Garbage. I mean, we talked about Perfect Match, and we know how much of a disaster that was. But there was one disaster on his resume that everybody thought was a joke. And that joke originated on this episode of the Pat Sajak Show. Here's a clip.
Now, you've done game shows before.
Yeah, I've done many, yeah, but none of them successfully. They've all been 13-weekers.
What were some of the real stinkers?
The real stinkers? Oh, boy,
No,
let's
stinkers,
see.
but-
Beat the IRS. I swear to you, it was
You did a show called Beat the IRS?
Beat the IRS
Sounds like a
legally.
cable deal.
I know, it didn't even get there. It was that bad.
Hey, I like it. Bob's doing my job for me. It's a bad mid-80s show. A host calls it utter garbage, says it's not fit for cable or public access or anything like that. Let's dive into this stinker.
Are you accustomed to receiving this kind of stress-filled mail? Then stay tuned, and we'll show you how to beat the IRS.
Beat the IRS is an unsold pilot hosted by Bob Goen that pitted two law-abiding taxpayers against each other in a battle of wits and W-2s in order to win cash prizes that only those in the upper tax bracket can afford for having to file for a tax extension or a second mortgage on their house. The show itself is supposed to not only entertain, but inform people about the tax code. Or at least that seemed to be the intent of the show. What it became was something about as entertaining as actually reading the entire tax code from cover to cover. So now it's time for us to actually delve into this entire code of this game show by cutting through all of the red tape and all of that stuff. I wonder how Bob Goen is doing in the IRS mustache department.
Meet the star of our show, a man who wants to make so much money he becomes the #1 taxpayer in America, Bob Goen.
Thank you. Thanks. How you doing? Thank you very much. Hi, everybody, and welcome.
As you can tell, Goen's mustache is in fine form here. And honestly, Goen himself is in good form as well. This, to my knowledge, is his first outing as a game show host, and he does quite well. He at least has a decent grip on the format and is genial and kind to the contestants. He is aided in the conquest of the code by enrolled tax agent Berna McNell. Watching this, she has some tropes of a good game show host down pat. I adored her swerving of contestants by going,
Absolutely wrong.
when someone gave what they thought was a slam dunk right answer. She also wants the contestants to win, which is unlike most IRS agents, because most of them wanted to act like this lovely agent. Jesus Christ, to see her grouch. You should take up sailing or something. To be honest, the dynamic of Goen and McNell work well, which is pretty much the only thing in the show that actually works. But what truly bogs down this show is the code of the show itself. There's so many hoops that you have to jump through and red tape you have to cut in order to actually win something on this show. Hey, it's actually like the actual tax code that we have to deal with here. The core gameplay starts off with Bob asking a general knowledge question related to money. Buzzing in with the right answer allows the contestant to go to the taxable income board. There, the contestant will pick a number and try to earn the amount behind said number by answering a dilemma based on the U.S. tax code. If they get that question right, then the money goes into their taxable income total. If they fail, then they get nothing and we start the process again. However, the show is based on sheltered income to determine a winner. So they go to the shelter board, which is played like the income board, but for a percentage instead of money, and answer yet another question about the U.S. tax code. If they get it right, then that percentage goes to their tax shelter. If they don't, then the money stays in their earned income board. Do you understand that? Good! I wrote that down and double-checked it with the show by rewatching it and the game show wiki, and I still don't understand the format. It's way too confusing for the average viewer, if the average viewer would even care to watch a show about U.S. tax codes. The joke I made about the show mirroring the actual tax code was meant to be funny and humorous, not an apt description for the show itself. The best game shows employ the keep it simple, stupid philosophy when adapting something complicated to a game show. The worst game shows try to overcomplicate things, and this pilot has a really overcomplicated format. You know what also doesn't help a format like this? Complicating it some more with a second authority figure. In round 2, an official judge comes in for quote-unquote tax court. Now, in this round, if they get a tax code question wrong, the tax agent can hand down a fine to the contestant's taxable income. If the contestant wants to appeal said judgment, they can take it to the judge for $100. If they get it right, then they get the amount they played the question for. If they fail, then they are stuck with a $500 fine. Now, the contestant with the most sheltered money wins, and that brings up a huge Achilles heel to the game itself. You could do well and have a good-sized earned income total, but it means absolutely nothing if you can't answer the shelter questions. The pilot itself highlights this fact when the male contestant is great on the buzz-ins, all right on the tax situations, and has $6,200 in his earned income bank. Hell, why not have an earned income credit at the end of the game, i.e. 10% you're told to be moved into your shelter? Sure, it makes things a bit more complicated, but at least it would be a bit more fair to others. Holy shit. I sound like the actual tax code. Okay, on the subject of being complicated, I'm absolutely befuddled as to why a game show would take a complicated format and overcomplicate it. Game shows are best when they're simple and easy to understand. But this is just giving me an absolute migraine. There's so many twists and turns and swerves, you feel like you're watching an episode of Vince Russo written WCW Nitro. Lastly, we get to the bonus game, and it's something that's, oh my goodness, relatively simple. Thank God. The contestant is asked if 10 things can be deducted from taxes and has 30 seconds to get through all 10. For each one they get right, they earn $500 worth of prizes. If they get all 10 right, they win a $50,000 Mercedes-Benz. You know what? This is simple and quite alright. I don't mind the grand prize being worth so much since it requires absolute perfection, but getting 10 is quite much. That's why most shows that have a perfection endgame have only like 5 or 7 correct answers that you need in order to win the big prize. But aside from that, the endgame is okay. However, I do have one other complaint that I have. Where did Agent McNeil go? Did she go with the judge to persecute a few tax evaders and cheaters with her senpai, Ernar Shyster? Should have been a good addition to the endgame, but let's be honest, beggars can't be choosers, or pay their taxes anyways. And that was Beat the IRS. It was as fun to sit through as filling out a 1040 in an hour perfectly without any extra information. It was complicated, it was boring, and it was not fun to sit through at all. Everybody thought that this show was a joke when Bob Goen said it in that Pat Sajak show interview. I just wish it had stayed a joke. What the? Oh, what's this? Uh-oh. Now, if you excuse me, I kind of have to go file some paperwork of the financial guide. Bye-bye!